Alrighty, well, hello and welcome to the Life Worth Living podcast. I'm Michelle Krieber.
And I'm Claire Riley, and we are here to dive into everything mindset, mental health, and how to make the most out of life.
And today we're going to try and bring some brightness into your life and talk about our love and our relationship, the story of us.
Oh, yeah.
Which, full transparency, was not the episode that we were going to release this week. And we know we're late. It's Wednesday as we're recording this. We did record a different episode a couple days ago. And in retrospect, listening back to it, I just felt like the negativity trap I fell into when talking about the severity of these issues that are happening in the world right now is just not something that I want to model to other people. And for myself, I want to promote action and engagement and obviously not ignorance, but self-care in the sense that we can't properly contribute positively to what's going on in the world until we take care of ourselves and stay safe mentally. And I just felt like during the episode, as I listened back to it, it was just so negative as as we all grapple with trying to exist in the same present moment where there's so much suffering and atrocious things happening on the other side of the world for where we are, but in the same moment, in the same day and age. So yeah, we'll release that episode and re-record it, but basically the episode was like how to stay engaged but not consumed. Yeah. And listening back, I was like, well, I'm pretty much just being consumed in this conversation.
Yeah, which, I mean, we might even release that exact episode later on too.
As a, like, what's not helpful.
No, but more so just as a reflective episode, because I think that the things you said were really applicable to how a lot of people can feel in this world and in moments like this where there are atrocious things happening. I think that a lot of people might relate to how your thoughts were cycling and how you were spiraling and might be able to find some solace in that. But also, hearing our conversation, maybe they'll be able to help themselves get out of those situations in the future.
I suppose, yeah, with the disclaimer of like, this was not necessarily a helpful train of thought. Like, I just kept feeling like, what's the point of doing anything when there's people that are being killed in their living rooms right now? Like, what's the point? Yeah. And I fall so into that because I'm just like, I feel so much guilt just existing and being safe when there's all these things happening, but that's so unhelpful. Like, it's just so deeply unhelpful to the people around you, but more importantly, the people that are actually suffering from those situations. Yeah. Staying grounded in yourself and taking action and keeping a level head is what is going to make you able to ingest information properly and contribute to progress and contribute to making this world more peaceful and positive. Paralysis is useless.
Yeah. And I think that...
And it's selfish, too.
Yeah. And I think that, the ways that you and I sort of get out of that state of paralysis is by inviting more positivity into our lives, listening to podcasts like this maybe, or, watching The Office, a little comfort show, just something that will make you feel a little bit more comforted and stable so that you're able to actually take action when the opportunity arises. So I think that's kind of what we want to try and do today. Rather than focusing on the negative, I think we want to just try and bring a little bit of joy and positivity into your lives.
Whilst obviously completely acknowledging that, like, what is there to say? They're just like truly unimaginable, horrific things happening that... This is not us trying to ignore it, but when we look at what we want this podcast to be, we don't want it to be self-indulgent and full of, you're like, I don't know. I just have a tendency when I talk about those things to get really dark because I care very deeply about them, and I feel so much guilt in my privilege and just even like, good for us. We have the ability to like record a podcast from the safety of our apartment and like talk about something fun and positive. Well, that's not something those people right now in those war zones can do right now. So even right now, I'm like, this doesn't really feel right. Yeah. But I trust you, and I know that it's really important when I get very anxious and depressed and paralyzed that I have my silly sports podcasts that literally like take me out of it and actually make me useful again. Like put me back in my human body and like see problems more rationally and become active as opposed to completely debilitated by sadness and fear of the world and of the darkness and the evils in this world and our existence. So anyways, good Lord. Let's talk about the fun stuff now. Let's shift gears. I just wanted to talk about that. And today, let's have some fun and bring some fun into whoever's listening's day. I don't know about the grammar of that.
You found your way.
Great. I see from my sound waves that, as usual, I've been blabbering on. So, Clary, why don't you take the reins?
Ooh.
And you let me know when you want me to interject.
Okay. Well, wow, the story of us. It starts... Well, when did we first meet each other? We met each other, I want to say, in... Maybe 2012, 2013.
2012, probably.
Yeah. Oh, I think it was exactly 2012.
Okay.
Actually, because it was a workshop and it had 2012 in the title.
Well, I'm sure we had passed by each other, but it was the first time I knew what your name was, probably.
Yeah. So basically, my first memory of Mish was, or at least my first memory of interacting with you was, for context, we went to the same dance school growing up, so that's how we met each other, how we know each other. But my first memory of interacting with you is at a workshop in 2012. It was a dance workshop, and I hit you in the like with my leg while we were doing the combo, because there were a lot of people there. We invited, like, our dance studio hosted it, but we invited a bunch of other studios.
From other, yeah.
So there were tons of people in a relatively small room. I think it was like 100 people in a very limiting room. And we were right next to each other. And we were doing the combo and dancing, and I hit you with my leg, and I was like, because I knew of Mish, because, you know, you had done voiceover work, you were singing, like, your name was out there more than any other, you know, 13-year-old that I had known in my corner of the world at the time.
Right.
And so I was like, oh my God. I hit her. Oh no, she's gonna hate me. I can't.
I don't even remember it. Like, you told me this years later. I was like, I don't remember that.
It's a very vivid memory. And then I felt horrible, and I was like, I'm so sorry. And you were like, it's okay. And you were so sweet. But I was like, oh no, that's what she's gonna remember me by. And then
and it was. And I hate you to this day. It's like what it's
the like, end.
There we go. Our office quote can be Dwight being like, I trust Pam's like one of my closest friends, but I still hate her to this day.
Yeah,
I forget that exactly.
Oh, I can't remember exactly either.
Like, but I don't trust her, or I hate her.
Yeah. Go Dwight. Yeah, and then during that same workshop, we had a lunch break, and we all sat outside. And you were like across the circle, because you know when you're with a big group of friends, like at school or something, you know when you all just kind of like sit in a really big circle with like 20 or 30 people. It was that kind of situation, and I was sitting a little bit close to you, but you were across enough so I could see your face, and you had this little lunchbox, and I had mine. I was just like, I wonder if she still hates me from this moment that happened an hour ago, and that's all I could think about. But I remember you talking, and I just remember significant moments of being like, that was really funny. She's really clever. She's really cool. And that was my first memory of you ever.
Yeah.
What was your first memory of me? I don't know if
that was it. I mean, I remember that moment more significantly than other moments in like 2013, that era. Like, I have a pretty bad memory, but because we've talked about that specific moment before and you've told me that story, I feel like I can visualize it more than I otherwise would have.
Yeah.
I feel like we maybe had like a one-on-one conversation in that circle, but no, I really can't remember, other than like it's interesting to me how much time we had spent together before we really not acknowledged each other. Like we were friends.
We were close. Yeah.
But we just never had one-on-one conversations ever.
Yeah.
Like you had your group of friends, I had my group of friends.
Yep.
And we both did this half-day program at dance. So for kids that were in regular high school, like Claire was, you'd go to dance. I mean, you go to school for the first half of the day, then you'd go to dance the second half.
Yeah.
For me, I'd stopped going to regular school in grade 5. So I
was just spent your afternoons at dance.
Yeah. And I would do school whenever. It was always random. It could have been in the night. It could have been that morning, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe I did it at dance. I don't know. And I mean, you were not anymore. You were 11 months older than me. And yeah, so I guess like at that age, like your friends are kind of like who's in your grade age, as opposed to like whoever's there.
Well, and also
I don't know.
we were in different levels too.
Well, yeah, you were much better dancer than everybody. So, including guys, like Claire was and still is a really, really good dancer. So my first memories probably of you was just being like, oh my God, she's so good. And it's like embarrassing for me to have to be in the same classes as her. Cause like, I'm like bringing the level down here. Especially in something like lyrical. Like I remember being thrown into advanced lyrical that first year of us both dancing, or you had already been dancing at that studio for a long time. That's when 2013 is when I started dancing there with the half day program and stuff.
Crazy.
And yeah, I remember just being thrown into advanced lyrical, like why? So I guess in short, I don't really remember the like a specific moment where I was like, that's Claire. I was just like, that's the very good dancer
wasn't
Claire.
Memorable, I guess.
That I thought was like older and cooler and like I wouldn't probably talk to because you were a better dancer and you were cooler and whatever. Like we didn't really have, we were kind of one big group of friends that year. We like in the half day program, like the people that danced at that school a lot. We were all like really good friends.
Yeah.
So again, we weren't like unfriendly.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have anything of significance to relay from like 2013 to 2014.
No.
Like really, we just danced together and we would just like be at the same friend gatherings and stuff.
It is so ironic. And maybe this is some hope to anyone out there because it's weird. I genuinely remember moments when I was like 14 or 15 or 16 before we started dating, thinking like, I wonder if I know my person, like if I know them, if I've met them already, and I just, stuff hasn't happened yet. I would always think that, and it turns out I was right.
Yeah,
and it was not what I thought.
Both of us would have never, ever, 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 ever guessed
I think
that.
we have to preface this also with saying how what's the word? Like
unexpected,
unassuming.
Oh yes,
maybe?
Unassuming is like a word. Yeah.
I think that everyone that as we were,
it cannot be overstated.
It really can't. We've grown to be a little bit more similar. I think just because
if you met us now, it'd be like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
And
it's made sense now for like several years.
Yeah.
But at first, it was like everyone was so confused.
Yeah, maybe we can like post a little video of like you back then versus me back then.
I was insane, and you were.
I was just like
chill.
I was in my 14-year-old like hashtag girl era,
hashtag thick eyebrows era. Hashtag I have painted 2 bricks onto my face.
Why did no one tell me?
I wish that we were close then, Claire, because I would have told you.
You would have been the only one.
Although at the time, everyone was doing it. So it wasn't that crazy. It's just, in retrospect, holy crap. Those things were caterpillars.
Yeah, I had like all the makeup on.
4 tones too dark.
Like, wearing skirts. Eyebrows. I had my straight hair every day.
But you just to give you an idea, like high school girl.
Yeah, high school girl.
And I, based off of my life experiences
you
to
were
that
the
moment,
complete opposite.
No normalcy.
No normalcy.
Detached from any normalcy in all facets of life.
Yeah, to give you a snippet that kind of says it all. Back when Mish went to school, she went to a school that required uniforms, and the uniforms at the time were like boys.
Men. The men.
12-year-old men. Boys wore pants and girls wore skirts. And Mish is actually, you're kind of the reason, right? That they changed that.
Because they changed it after I complained about it. I was like in grade
conversation.
Yeah, in grade 4, I was like, I want to wear shorts.
Yeah.
Why do I have to wear a skirt?
But the reason you told me that I think paints a beautiful picture for everyone is that as, you know, a 12-year-old or 8-year-old, I don't know how old you were, the reason that she wanted to wear shorts wasn't because, you know, she was of the mind of being like, oh yeah, this isn't fair, and she didn't think about that just yet. It was purely because she wanted to climb trees. She wanted to climb on top of the school. She wanted to climb in all these different places.
Like, how am I supposed to do with this skirt? Like, bro.
Practical.
Come on.
I think that while I was out there, you know, taking selfies with my friends, you were out there.
I gotta wear shorts so I can climb stuff.
Yeah. I think that paints a good picture of the differences.
I mean, that was more me as a kid.
That's
but
true.
Same for like being a preteen and a young teenager. I was just like so crazy.
Yeah.
And so detached from just like basic teenage norms, like so unaware of even like the school culture at the time. Like I just missed this massive gap of like what other people experienced.
Yeah.
Like I just had no sense of what it looked like to actually be a kid. I was like an adult already.
Yeah.
And I took pride in that. So as much as I like looked super childlike and I had a bunch of fun, mentally I was like, I have to work full time as an adult. I have to present myself in a professional manner. And so I really missed out on that. And I think that's why I love dance, because that was like my one, like honestly, my one thing I had.
Yeah.
From age like 9 when I left school to when I became an adult.
Yeah.
I had one show after that where I ended up in a cast of a bunch of kids, which was rare.
Yeah.
Where I kind of had a little last bit of teenage childhood and whatever.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was just those like 2 years at dance. That's really it. So they're fond memories in that sense.
Yeah. It's crazy to me that that was your only real source of like consistent social life, because you're a very extroverted person and that was your only source. But I'm a very introverted person, and I had school, and then I had dance, and then I had soccer, and then I had softball, and then I had like volleyball, and then I had skating.
Yeah.
And I was going to a lot of different little realms
and I would have experiences where I'd get like to be social all the time, but then they would end.
Yeah, it wasn't consistent.
You know, like it was you'd film a movie for 2 months and then bye, never see you again. You're going back to wherever you're from, you know.
Yeah.
Or again, most of the time just never had kids that you'd be working with. But anyways, we're getting off track a little bit.
We are.
Not really. We're having a banter, I guess.
That's a little banter.
But basically, we're like other sides of the spectrum at that time.
Yeah.
And yeah,
we'll be sure to post some context to
some
our
like
socials
at the time.
Both of us
comparing
2015.
Yeah, no, but like 2014, 2013.
Couple.
Okay, so that year, that first year, September 2013 to like summer 2014, we were just kind of friends, and that was it. Then we go to Disneyland with our friends, our dance school.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we just ended up going on a lot of the rides together.
Mm-hmm.
And we just like ended up hanging out one of the days. And we were like, wait, this is so much fun. Like, I know this person pretty well. And yet clearly I don't know them at all. Like, there's something fun here. We have like a fun banter, a fun friendship. Although...
What?
Well, it was like solely based on the joke that we were dating. Even then.
That's so true.
Even then.
Oh, that is
it was like the bays
theme
already. Like that summer in Disneyland. Like that was it.
And let's like, I wonder if what catapulted that was the era of Miranda Sings being really big.
In retrospect, again, like oof, woof.
Yeah, but if you've seen her content, if you grew up around the same era that we did, you know that she was like, oh, the bays, and like she had all the bays.
And we were really into that. I was like, oh, my bays.
That's like what everyone did, at least everyone that I knew.
No, it was at least in our circles, like what everyone was talking about.
Yeah, it was just like you find your bays and stuff. So we were each other's bays.
And dance culture in general is extremely affectionate.
Yeah.
And that was very confusing growing up because I just thought it was really normal to, like, have affection for the girls around me.
Yeah.
And I never spent time around boys, so it was like, oh, I just haven't, like, ever experienced whatever it feels like to have a crush on a boy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I just, like, literally never did.
Yeah.
I just didn't, I never was able to recognize it because I never spent time around any boys or girls. And then when I did spend time with girls when I was, like, by the time I was, like, 13, 14, that's what everyone was doing anyways. Like, I know. Like, oh, okay, everyone just basically acts like they're dating even when they're friends.
Yeah, like, you hold
when
hands
they're straight
with your friends and, like, you're sitting next to each other and, like, you know, it was very, very affectionate.
It was just how it was.
That's just how it was. That was our norm.
Yeah.
Which is so funny to, like, kind of talk about with our friends now that aren't dancers or that didn't grow up in the dance world, because only in, like, recent years have we really realized, like, whoa,
that wasn't normal.
People don't do that. You're not just, like, attached at the hip to all your friends, like all your girlfriends when you're younger. Crazy. So it was kind of hard for us to differentiate.
Oh, it was practically impossible.
It was literally impossible. Yes, we went to Disneyland, and I remember too, jumping off the fact that we were joking about being bays, we had this whole scenario in the Disneyland pool where we found a June bug that was
our child
drowning, and we claimed him as our child.
Yes, and so then we became co-parents.
Yeah, of our son, Eduardo.
Yes, Eduardo the June bug. Oh my gosh, you're bringing these memories back, Claire. Yes, totally. So it was like, basically we were already dating. We just didn't know it.
Yeah.
So, okay, that was Disneyland. Then we were much closer friends.
We were much closer, but for some reason there was, like, a gap for a year, and we
were closer, though.
We were closer.
For closer.
Sure. We would talk.
And
like,
then
we still didn't really hang out.
It wasn't
outside of dance.
Never. You're right. That's true. We would never hang out outside of dance.
Yeah.
And we both had friends in that same group that we would hang out all the time with outside.
Yeah.
Like one-on-one or in small groups, and that was never us. You're right. So, probably Disneyland was, like, the most one-on-one time we had spent, like, even just one day just going around different rides together.
Yeah.
So then, okay, we're still closer friends at this point. But the big event.
Oh, here we go.
This is so fun to talk about.
I know. The big event.
This
day changed it all. Okay, so
what we've been talking about so far is a good preface of that too, of the school thing.
Yeah,
we've already kind of mentioned my whole school thing.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, as you guys know at this point, Mish stopped going to school in person. When you were, how old were you really?
9.
And now we're like 15, 16, 17-ish. How old
were
we?
No. We were like 15.
15, 16.
Yeah, no, 15.
Well,
I'm sorry. That's what I'm...
Yeah, I'm older, whatever.
That was so true. No, yeah, you're right. Because I wasn't at your 16th birthday, so we weren't close friends yet.
Yeah,
so you're right, 15, 16.
So you'd been out of school for a while.
God, those pictures of your 16th birthday, you're such a dork. You still had your braces? Oh. You remember those pictures of you in your, like, pink penguin onesie? And anyways, that's irrelevant, but I just thought of that. That's funny.
I was a little dork. That's the thing. I was, like, in my #girl era.
But you were such a little nerd. You were so cute. But
you
never I never saw that. Yeah. So, again.
So, yeah, that's
fast forward to this important day.
Okay, so everyone was saying that Mish should go and experience in-person school again. And I had a very chill, relaxed teacher for my English class. And so I decided that it would be great for Mish to come along and join my English one day.
This is public school.
We're talking about. And
so somehow it was allowed.
And the thing is, you had experienced... teenagehood on set
through the lens
of movies. And like things like Pretty Little Liars. That was the era. So this day happens. I'm in school. I'm wearing leggings, Converse, and a very oversized crew neck that I found at the thrift store. Mish comes up. Mind you, her genuine style at the time is like Converse shorts, Adidas pants,
No, I was in my girly era, Claire.
Oh, you
forget.
No, you're right.
I was in my 2-year ultra girly era.
That's true.
Don't forget. Don't forget,
good.
Claire.
Okay, but even for your ultra girly era, this was a notch up. So I go outside because Mish texts me, she's here and my English class is about to start. So I go outside to grab her. And she's wearing these little heeled booties, skinny jeans, dark blue skinny jeans, and like a leather blazer jacket,
a purple leather
blazer jacket, and an infinity scarf that wrapped around like 3 times.
And I'm wearing earrings and a big necklace.
It was
bracelets and a watch.
A bunch of like bangly bracelets.
Oh gosh, yes.
The kind from like Claire's in like 2006 when they're all just like a little bit of metal.
Ooh, yum yum yum.
Yeah, it's what you saw on set and nowhere to be found in
public
real life,
school.
Especially not public school. So yeah, she comes in and she's extremely overdressed, and that was hilarious.
We will post that specific picture.
We will.
That's the first thing we have to share with you.
Oh yeah, we got a picture.
Crucial.
The parents got a picture of Mish going to school.
History.
Mish on her first day of back at school. So yeah, we had our class together. We had a bunch of laughs. It was a great time.
And I think this is important to switch to my perspective because I feel like that day completely changed my understanding of you as a person. Because I thought you would have been like the super popular, not in a negative way, but just like really popular, really like, oh, I have all my boyfriends and like all my people and I'm just at school being a popular lady. And then to see you just like be such a nerd and not like, you weren't conforming to anything. You were just very genuinely yourself, just like you were at dance. And it was like, oh, interesting. This is not, you're not, I don't know. It's not like you were a completely different person than I thought you were. It was just like, oh, this is like a whole new side to you I never really had the opportunity to see.
Maybe like brought out
you
more
were
of
such
the
a shy
human
person
element of me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were guarded, I think, to a degree.
I was very shy. Once again, if you've listened to past episodes, you know that I was a very shy kid.
Yeah, so it's like you were shy, but it used to come out as you just being like popular. Like it used to come out as you being like, I don't know. No, again, not negative. Like not like you were bitchy or anything at all whatsoever. Yeah. No one would have ever said that about you or thought that about you. But like you just didn't. You didn't necessarily engage in conversations.
Yeah, and I think that quiet can come across as disengaged or
or uninterested in like connecting on a deeper level or whatever it was. But again, we were also kids, so so that was like just a very that moment onward, that day, I don't think there has been a day since where we have not talked to each other.
No,
I don't think there's literally been one day. Maybe there was one day in your like university era when we're like, maybe we should just not talk to each other and take a break, and the next day be like, okay,
actually, it's been more than 24 hours and this is weird. I don't like it.
I literally don't think there has been longer than 24 hours since where we have not texted or talked to each other.
2015,
which is crazy.
Yeah, that is wild.
So talk then back to your perspective of that day.
Okay, so then I was kind of like the anxious little hover parent because I had to go to another class and you had to just wander in public school on your own.
That's right, you left me and I was like,
you're like, what do I do?
Girl? I already said bitchy, so I'm just going to say, bitch, where am I supposed to go? I'm sitting here. You know what I did? Because I'm such a little actor.
Oh, I know.
Pulled out my French book and pretended like I was just learning because I was so stressed. I'm like, I have to blend in. I have to be a chameleon. Everyone's gonna be so suspicious of me in school. Like no one ever would have ever cared or noticed ever.
You pretended to study.
Oh my god, what a little loser. But yeah, so you left me, and then continue on because we gotta wrap this.
I know.
Era up. There's lots more to tell.
Then we just went to dance because after my next class where you were all alone, it was lunch, and because we were in the half day program, we went to dance.
Right.
So then we spent the rest of the day at dance, and I remember specifically we had our last class of the day was lyrical, and if you've ever taken a lyrical class,
it's very in the feels.
It's very in the feels, especially when you do something like partner improv, which is what we were tasked to do to the song Delicate. We'll always remember that.
No, I don't think that was Delicate.
Yeah, I think it was not the Taylor Swift version.
Is it cool if I said all that? It is cool that you're in my head. Are you sure? No, that wasn't Delicate.
I'm 100%
wasn't it?
Sure.
Wasn't it Wasn't it Ed Sheeran? Maybe it was.
No,
both.
It was Delicate.
All right.
Don't even try. Okay, I know this.
Yeah. I thought that was a combo later, but never mind.
No,
we're sounding like our moms as we tell this story. We're getting into too much detail.
So we were tasked with partner improv, which if you don't know what that means, it just means you dance together with no direction, no instructions. You just stand up, a song plays, and you figure something out. And ours was just so like wholesome.
It was so wholesome.
It was so wholesome.
So in retrospect,
we were so
gay.
in love. It was, one might say, gay.
Everything was so gay from that moment onwards.
We were just clearly in love and had no idea. We were so oblivious to it. It was so much too that we made our lyrical teacher cry from that. Do you remember that?
Oh,
we did.
I know now.
And she was like, "Why did I cry?" And we were like, "I don't know."
Well, now we know.
Now
she was also gay.
That's true. The gays unite.
Yeah.
So that was that day, and yeah, I don't think we've stopped talking since.
No, we literally didn't.
So after that is when we started actually hanging out.
We were best
separate
friends
from dance
from that week onwards.
Yeah, we
like
had
inseparable.
sleepovers all the time, especially because that was near the end of the school year, so that was around like June, July.
Then we had all of summer, and we got super close over the summer.
Yeah. We also we also had this whole plan once again, bringing it back. I forgot the B. Bringing it back. How did I just forget the B? Bringing it back to the fact that we had this whole inside joke that we were bays and we were dating, even though we weren't yet.
Right. Then when we became best friends, that just came back.
It came back. And we had this whole mission in the summer that we were going to go on a first date, and we were going to have multiple dates. We were going to get married. And we did.
We did all those things.
We genuinely did.
And again, clarifying, this is all purely platonic at this point.
We had no idea that we liked each other. It was all
just an inside joke, but it was like one big, giant, ridiculous inside joke. Like, why did we actually put in the effort? We literally went on all these dates. We made a list of things. We would like hold hands as a joke.
Yeah,
we
take
bought
pictures
rings.
of our hands. We did. We went
and
to the
had
bay.
a little ceremony at the beach.
We went to the bay to get rings.
To get married.
And then we created our vows and threw a rock into
the ocean.
Yeah.
It's just
now we still have our rings from that day.
Lord, the fact that we didn't. This is why media representation is so crucial. Because if we were that age now, we would have figured it out immediately.
Yeah,
wouldn't have been a question of like, oh, I'm in love with this person.
But it's just there was no representation of anyone that looked like us.
And this was, I mean, if this was 2015, that was literally the year that the U.S. legalized same-sex marriage. Can you imagine? This is a real fact. The movie Inside Out is older than same-sex marriage in the States. That's insane. We had Ellen. I don't know. And like, what else? Really nothing much.
Kind of like the.
I feel like there was a lot of probably a lot of like gay, like male gay culture still out there.
That was a little bit more.
But the only representation of like lesbians was like very butch.
Yeah, like more masculine.
Yeah, and if you didn't identify with that, then it was like, I just don't see.
And all the other ones in there that were more feminine, like all the characters that were more feminine, it was a little bit more of like, oh, well, I'm just in a jail with a bunch of girls, so I'm going to experiment. It wasn't like
actually taken seriously as love.
Yeah. All the ones that came in and were like, I'm gay, were the butch ones.
And it's still like hard. It's still so underrepresented of like what an actual relationship looks like. It's either made out to be way too sexual or too I don't know. It's just not represented in like how we just live our lives very normally. And it's just very normal. The only part that's not normal is it's hard to figure out that you love that person because you never thought of that as being an option.
Yeah.
Or you never thought that you could to distinguish. I don't know. It's with, again, like if you were in a friend group where girls were just naturally affectionate, like how do you how do you distinguish that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I know. It was hard.
It was really tricky. So then basically all that to say, it took us a year. No, not that long.
No.
I guess it took us till like
from like
that fall
to
because we were falling hard at that time. We just didn't know it. We were very affectionate,
wholesome, very pure, very in love, and just didn't know it.
So I figured it out first.
Yeah,
we were at a play. And Claire was really upset afterwards because it was a very sad play, but it also had like themes of like the lead character questioning their sexuality. And so that was in my head already. Mm-hmm. And, like, weird things were already happening that day.
Yeah.
Like, we were, like, getting really romantic. Like, we had a handshake where we would, like, had an excuse to hold hands in this handshake because we'd hold it for, like, 15 seconds and, like, stare at each other's eyes.
It makes me so sad for past
It's so
us,
depressing.
because it's just, like, we were so in love but had no idea.
No representation to be able to, like, gauge the situation.
Yeah.
And... yeah. And you had already had, what, like, friggin' 5 boyfriends? You'd kissed, like, 10 dudes. Like, I had not had my first kiss. I never had a crush on any boy. Like, and you realize, and I think I've said the word retrospect for no reason, like, a billion times in this episode. I don't know why it's my word today. Yeah, I have. I've said retrospect, like, I don't know. 10
Say
times
it a few more.
now. Let's do a retrospect count, guys. How many times? You have to include these times now. Retrospect.
Oh, dear.
We'll see if people can come up with a tally. They'll win a grand prize.
A grand prize chicken dinner.
A chicken dinner.
Winner.
What the heck were we just talking about? Oh, I guess you realized, obviously, in retrospect, that you didn't actually have feelings for those dudes.
Oh, yeah.
It was just, like, you thinking you should have this feeling. But then we don't really need to talk. That's another episode of, like, figuring out one's sexuality. We're talking about our story.
Yeah.
But basically... Claire was, like, literally talking to a boy at this point. Like,
was I?
Yeah, you were. And we were talking about it that day.
Whoa.
And I was getting, like, kind of, like, I don't really like this. I was getting a little jealous.
Ooh.
And then we had the handshake thing, and then this play was super sad, and it had these sort of queer themes, and then Claire was upset, and I, like, went to console her in this stairwell, and I don't know what it was, but in that moment I was like, I don't just want to comfort you, like I want to kiss you. And I don't know why it, like, that was that moment. And then from then on I was like, oh shit, I really, are we sure we can't swear on this podcast, Claire?
Oh, fine, you can.
No,
I don't
because then I
think
got to put the little
any...
stupid E thing on it.
Oh.
I was like, crap.
I was like, crap.
Oh, shucks. Chicken
diggity
nugget.
Darn.
Diggity darn. I gotta deal with this now. I guess I'm in love with you.
Shoot.
And then, our friends who were there that night always tell the story of, like, everyone was talking weirdly, coincidentally that night about, we feel like everyone's a little bit gay and, like, where's everyone on that spectrum? And I apparently just, like, went silent when it got to me, because I was just like, what? Whatever.
Not me.
And so then I went into full flirtation mode.
You did.
I, like, really went for it.
You
I
didn't pick up on it
so long.
All.
It was literally only a month, I think, or maybe a couple weeks, but it felt like an eternity of like, are you not picking up what I'm putting down, bro? And literally you would say, we were just, like, so in love. We would just say, like, I love you so much in a way that I can't explain. I just, like, want to be with you all the time. And, like, it got really obsessive because we were just, like, I just want you to freaking say it. Like, because we've said I love you, like, a billion times. So there's nothing new to say. But it's like...
we were both hoping.
I want to be with you. Like, no one said it. And so it just, like, escalated and escalated and escalated of, like, I love you so much. I just keep thinking about you. Whatever. It just got so... I think, in a way, it got really toxic because poor us, we were just, like, begging for the other person to have to admit it, you know? And so then... so that's my portion of figuring it out. I was being super flirtatious. So let's go to Claire's moment, like, a month later after I figured it out, of when she cognitively got there.
Went around the whole sun. No,
took you long enough.
It did.
Took both of us long enough, though. In our defense and your defense.
Yeah. So my realization was during a Christmas parade that our dance company was in, and we were both in this dance where it was like a waltz, and there were girl partners and boy partners, but because we didn't have any
we never had boys
in our dance school, all the girls were boys, and Mish was a boy and I was a girl, and so not that even really matters, but
I think it helped to bridge the gap.
It helped
to bridge for you at that time. I really do. I think she was like, wait a minute. Does not have to be boy, but this girl looking slightly like boy make me think, girl could be that role for me in my life. I get that now. Bing bong, bing boop bop boop beep. I really think it helped, Claire.
It's so
as
true.
Stupid as that is.
I think it did. But anyway, so that probably played a part for sure in bridging the gap. But yeah, I remember that it was a really cold day. It was the beginning of December here in Vancouver, so it was pretty chilly. And we all had heat packs in our hands, like the kind where you shake and you warm it up. And I remember you and I were, just hanging out as we do, really close, faces like inches apart from each other.
Under the same umbrella.
And you kept warming up my
hand. No, in the same poncho. That's what it was, because the ponchos were giant. You're so right. I went into your poncho, and I was like, I just don't have my own poncho.
You're right. Wow, the flirting.
I know.
It was on. Okay, so yeah, we were in the same poncho under the same umbrella, and Mish kept warming up my hands, like with her own hands, and like blowing on them.
I was a true gentleman.
You were a true gentleman in your top hat. Yeah, we will also try and share a picture of this day because it's hilarious. Yeah, and I just remember having a lot of sweet moments with you, like you trying to warm up my hands and things like that, where you would just be very, I was
sweet, on my game,
very flirty. Yeah, you were on your game. And then I went home and I remember journaling.
The diaries are so good.
I whipped out my diary and I still have
you have to quote it word for word. That sentence is my favorite. It's so teenagey.
Wait, which one?
You don't even remember? I think I like
oh
Mish.
Yeah, I think I like Mish.
So
with like the underlined second yeah, it was, but it was so funny because I remember making that diary entry and then just closing my book and being like, okay. Like I think that a lot of the time there's this expectation that realizing that you're gay or that you like someone
with your best friend
are in love with your best friend, I think there's this idea that is a really overwhelming realization and it's just mind-blowing and you're like, oh, what does this mean? And your world turns upside down. For me, it was just like, makes sense.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Now, obviously part of that, I think if you're in an oppressive family situation, that's like where your brain goes first. No, I know you weren't. I know you weren't, but I think even if you're in, even if you're in a situation where you feel like there's going to be disapproval around you, that realization for the self is not super hard.
Yeah.
As you think. And that, you know what, we shouldn't say that. Everyone's experience is different. But for both of us, it was just like, oh, that's interesting. It was like, then there were consequences that we were not expecting. But like, still, we were very okay with it immediately and being like, that makes sense. I think it just made so much sense. That it was just kind of like immediately, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
So, okay. Then what really happened? Like
what happened?
You kind of were sort of at that point, you were really, the thing is, you retreated though. You say you retreated. You retreated.
Yeah.
You were treated.
You were treated.
I mean, you were, girl. I was flirting and I was comforting and I was doing all the things. To try and get you to see me in a romantic way. I was trying to woo you.
Aww,
I was trying to court you. Based off of what you were talking about in the last episode of like you being scared to lose people. You were just like really scared that maybe I didn't feel the same way.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I just remember you being really like confused.
Yeah, no, for me it was more, and I did this in more instances than just with you two. I used to just sort of retreat as soon as I realized that I quote unquote liked someone, inclusive of times where I actually did with you, and also inclusive of times where I didn't like someone, but I was like, oh, this person asked me out and now we have to be boyfriend and girlfriend and yeah, sure, I like you because I think you're cool. Inclusive of both of those situations, as soon as I realize what's about to happen and that a connection is like really transforming, I retreat and I'm like, ooh, do I actually want this? I don't know. And I kind of freeze. But it had nothing really to do with the fact that I was gay and coming to terms with that. It was just like,
it was more
relationship
to do with,
is happening.
More to do with me then.
Yeah, it was just like a relationship is about to happen and
Okay, well that's an important distinction then actually, I guess. So I'm glad that we got that because I don't even know if I really knew that.
I don't know where that comes from for me. It just is like a little weird thing.
Yeah.
Used to do.
It's just part of you.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so
I retreated a little bit.
You did.
Froze. You were trying to woo me.
You even said one night, you were like, I love you so much, but not in a gay way.
I'm
and that's
so sorry.
after you had already figured it out that it was in a gay way. You were such a little bee, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I did
that.
Say that.
Like, crushed my soul.
So sorry.
I'll never forget. Like, sitting up on my bed and then movie style, as if the shot would go from, like, being here of me sitting up to, like, overhead of my bed and then me plonking back downwards and it being like an overhead shot of me just being like, shoot. It's like such a movie moment.
Yeah.
Just like flinging my head back onto my bed, just being so exacerbated of like, shoot.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? Because
Yeah.
I didn't believe you also.
I know.
But I was like, if you like,
but
what
like,
are we
if I wasn't gonna admit to it or like be able to see that in myself, yeah. I get you.
So next chapter, I wish to say that it was some fabulous fairy tale situation where we got to profess our love together in a very lovely way. It basically became about everybody else that was around us in the situation, and it was not fun, and basically a lot, I feel like, got taken away from us, which is not stuff we're going to get into ever, but... yeah, it just did not go the way that we wanted or I even planned. Like, there were times when I wanted to, like, take you for a walk and, like, tell you romantically or whatever. Yeah. I texted you from therapy being like, do you like me? And you were like, yep. And I was like, okay, great. And then we saw each other once before I left for Christmas. And then we just kind of had an entire relationship start over text.
Yeah.
And it was really weird, but also really cute, I guess.
Yeah.
I wanted to say in retrospect again, Claire.
In retrospect.
I love that word. It just rolls off the tongue.
I got you.
Looking back on it.
Yeah. But it was, I mean, that moment that we did have together after the day that we professed through text.
It was super cute.
It was really
held
cute.
hands,
we went skating with all of our friends.
Yeah.
And no one else knew. The thing is, like, we kind of kept our relationship just between the two of us.
Oh, it was like a year before everyone we knew.
Even
no, like half
friends.
A year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because we
know.
weren't really, like, anyways, we're not going to get into it.
Yeah. But it was a cute day where no one knew. It was like this little secret thing that we had just found out for ourselves, and it was very precious because it was just the two of us, and we were like holding hands under the table.
It was super cute.
At, you know, like the place, I don't even remember where we went.
The crepe place.
The crepe place. Oh, yeah. Man.
So then we just like texted over. I know that you're looking at the fact that I'm fiddling with my gum and you're disgusted. Yeah. And you're like, why are we still in this relationship?
She's been twiddling her gum for the last...
it's just fun.
Between her fingers.
I just spotted it and picked it up. You know how I fiddle.
I do, unfortunately.
Okay, well, wow, this maybe we should make a part 2 because that was 55 minutes so far.
Whoa!
There was like one chunk that I'm going to cut out, so maybe it's like 50 mark now. I don't know.
That's crazy.
But we don't really need to edit this that much.
Yeah.
We just had a nice flow of conversation. Mm-hmm. Should we make a part 2?
I think we should make a part 2.
I think we should make a part 2 of like once our relationship started and like talk about how we grew and
because
honestly we should make a 3-part. We should because I feel like there's really like 3 distinct parts to our relationship.
That's true.
There's like us being best friends and falling in love.
And then, like, the growing pains, growing together.
You going to university.
Yeah,
me
like long distance. Just, like,
long distance for
more
a long
bumpy.
time. So much more than I remember. We had long distance. Yeah. Like, way longer than I remember.
Yeah. And then this kind of new era, maybe the last, like, 3-4 years of, like, you know, living together, seeing each other so much more family.
And having our families be family.
Yeah,
like just
but also,
having
like,
our lives intertwined.
how we navigate that new landscape of challenging each other, letting each other grow, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Being independent while coexisting. Yeah. All that good stuff.
Yeah, so we'll do a 3-part series,
Let's
Claire.
Do a 3-part series.
I love it. I love it. Because people always ask us this, even, like, our friends.
Yeah.
So...
now, whenever we meet someone new, we'll be like... here's this podcast episode if you ever want to know.
Yeah, so we don't have to... This is going to be so useful, Claire.
It will. They can put it on 3 times speed, blast
just,
through
like, get through the story. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so useful, Claire. Because it's a complex story sometimes.
It is.
And to just have a link. Here's the link. If you're interested, new prospect of friendship, go listen to this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was really fun, Clary.
That was really fun. I love talking about this. Again... we hope this just brought a little bit of light and positivity into your world right now.
Yeah, it's a dark time right now, a really dark time. So
take care of yourselves.
Lean into love and take care of ourselves and recognize our privilege, do good with it, not become complacent, but not become consumed, and just do our best and make sure that we are fighting for a more peaceful, progressive world.
Yeah.
And we can only do what we can. So start with yourself, and then start with the people around you. And then if you still feel like you have the energy and time, then please try and, donate or reach out beyond your circles to try and help.
Yeah.
Because we all have to do what we can.
Yeah. And I think a good kind of takeaway from this episode, if any, is go forward with love and compassion.
Yeah. All right. Asiago cheese.
Asiago cheese. Hope you enjoyed.
Sorry, this was not Tuesday, but we will hopefully see you on Tuesday. I think we will be able to facilitate that and actually stick to that.
Yeah.
Usually. And we would have if we didn't decide to re-record this episode.
Yeah.
So. Tuesdays is still the day. Apologies that we're late, but hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and it won't be like the next episode where we do part 2 and then part 3, but we'll do them in the next couple of weeks or so.
Stick around. They'll come out.
Alrighty. Bye-bye. Love you all.
Toodaloo.